There isn't a single piece of media that has greatly influenced on who I am as a person, how I perceive my surrounding, and the values that I hold deep inside me than cinema. I have learned the most about life, this world of ours, and the struggles we collectively face from watching films. I have grown, cried, and experienced what I couldn't express in my own existence through them. It continuously challenges my mentality in ways it can still enrich in itself with different viewpoints and ways of living. In a way, it brings them closer to my senses. Films that allows me to undergo such emotions always tend to greatly impact on my psyche. There have been numerous titles of such nature in the past, but only few of them can stand toe-to-toe against the masterclass of Masaki Kobayashi's work, who depicted the Japanese society via an extremely truthful lens with his pacifist and socialist outlook towards life that favored more progressive and humane ideologies, which he constantly discussed by expressing numerous philosophical ideas in his writings. Although, at first glance, all of the issues he chooses to tackle might come off as strictly related to Japan and its past, but that isn't the case. Even if the time period in his films hardly aligned with the era they were released, or when they were started to be appreciated in a larger degree, the message behind them remains timeless and tremendously valuable. He uses those particular timelines of the nation in various ways to comment on their way of living and morals that were followed in those days, either willfully or forcefully, and how, even if those ideas might be considered as something that has faded away with time, the lingering after effects can still be found not only in his time, but still to this day, not limited to his country, but almost the entire world. And that's what makes his work essential classics, not only in terms of its technical excellence or clever storytelling. However, the lessons he was trying to convey and departed with are quite vital for this world of ours to hear and learn from.
のこととても気にするだろうって。
俺が日本人だってことは俺の罪じゃない。しかも俺の一番罪の深いのは俺が日本人だってことなんだ。
His three-parted and 10-hour-long war epic, The Human Condition trilogy, can easily be considered as the ultimate anti-war film, with its everlasting influence on the genre, mainly from how it brutally illustrated the range of destruction brought to the lives of millions of people. Adapted from a novel, and incidentally parallels with what the director himself went through after he was drafted into the army, taken as a prisoner near the end of the war, and spent a year in a detention camp. And that reflects on the journey of our protagonist, whose opinion towards that is quickly made apparent, and how he views the mistreatment of the Chinese workers by the Japanese officers, who are enrolled in a similar fashion to how the army recruits young adults, without prior notice or proper checkups. Their knowledge or expertise doesn't matter, as they're just after working hands, human lives being exploited for the gain of a cause that slaughters their own kind. Lack of regular meals, proper housing, and inhumane treatment further worsens their morale and output. However, rather than tackling the core of the issue, they find sleazy ways to keep them working. But what can one expect from an organization riddled with corruption and favors in the name of friendship? A single person with strict morals, sadly, can't overhaul the system. A system that promotes binding the workers with receiving loans that financially aids the lenders. Oppose it and either get life imprisonment or killed. So, similar options that the army provides to the ones who decline the military duties. Just another slave for the system. Their lives are seen as expendable and less valuable than the ores they are mining. Segregated, malnourished, and ill to their bones, falling out like sickly flies, and swarming the source of food in that half-dead state, as the film doesn't hold back to showcase the atrocity of that war, which is exactly what provides the officers with the free rein to do whatever that gets them the result. To them, these are small mistakes or sacrifices that can be overlooked to achieve the greater goal, distorting truths by using fear and power so the cycle of innocent death can keep running. Raise questions against that and get hypnotized by helpless and outnumbered women to satisfy their bodily needs, all suffering from the same tragedy and beaten down by the Japanese forces to comply what is asked of them. And this mindset has been deeply ingrained in the minds of Chinese workers. To some, it is the way things work. But that doesn't mean their own people can't exploit them either. Lust can be utilized by anyone to feed one's greed. War brings complex problems and leaves many to form their own agendas. Everyone is trying to survive, trying to save their face, and hoping that their future is brighter on the other side. And the worst one can do at such times is keep promises that aren't doable. Although their determination is admirable, it might not be enough, even if there are occasional glimpses of hope. It is noble. However, can it be actually maintained? The question isn't if all of it is going to end badly, but when it is going to happen. How can one stay hopeful in a place where killers get handed with promotion and friends are forced to betray? A trap has been set up, and it is going to consume someone's life. And the helplessness that comes with it is what the film constantly explores. A change is gravely desired by the oppressed. However, will it ever come from the one standing outside the concentration camp who has more say on the lives of the group who are about to lose theirs? At that point, minor inconveniences aren't in the equation anymore, and the consequences from it will become a lifelong nightmare. Personal image aside, this moment decides if people's lives can be toyed around without any repercussions. And the direction that is taken in here is what makes everything that happened prior to it worth it. Masses combine together to dictate where the tide will flow and take matters in their own hand, even if it leads to their demise. And all they needed was a nudge. However, the instigator's action gets him labeled as a traitor, another prisoner at the mercy of others. The trilogy is unquestionably a necessary watch, but the journey isn't without its fair share of bumps. Road to Eternity isn't as effective or matches the quality. However, the director wonderfully concluded all of it with a soldier's prayers to showcase the loop of sufferings and loss of humanity. But No Greater Love not only features the most visually striking location, but is densely crowded with so many memorable messages that can't be easily outshined. And sadly, all of them can't even be discussed in here. Still, it is a fabulous collection of films that has so much to offer.
食い詰め浪人の貧乏話で拉致もござらぬが、今日は他人の身でも明日は我が身ということもある。
With Harakiri, we are treated with the magnum opus of Kobayashi. The cinematography, matched with the set design, leads to a visually rich experience. And then, there is the ingenious storytelling that uses multiple flashbacks to retell the tales from the past, accompanied by foreshadowing that are subtle and direct in many ways. It is a technically astute and well-structured film that has no detectable flaws, in which he used the Edo period to critique on the pride, honor, and bravery many people associated themselves with. In days where any form of conflict has ended and peace has flooded the area with hundreds of ronins without any place of residency and proper work to sustain their lives, many detested to continue such a lifestyle and wished to commit seppuku in an honorable place, either to actually go through with it or hopefully gain their respect by inclining to end their lives by such act and get accepted in their ranks. Unsurprisingly, in those times of desperation, it was met with lots of imitators who were either after shelter, food, or money. Something that the clan can't continue without tarnishing their image amongst the public. Their reputation and status was in line, so they decided to play with the life of a wretched ronin whom they suspected never intended to take his own life, deceiving him with lies and disregarding his distressing calls when he asked for a brief period of respite so he can go back to his dying family. But the clan was far more interested in teaching him a lesson and treating him as an example for others, justifying all of it by stating that it was his request and final wish to die in that fashion, failing to understand him as a person first who happens to be a samurai. But to them, the latter places above that, and more importantly than his individuality, choosing to take that path in the name of samurai's code, honoring their family's lineage and what it stands for. A form of pride that is extremely delusional, where they value themselves in very high regard. A toxic variant of self-respect. And what ensues after that is immensely inhumane and horrifying to witness, which brings a protagonist in action who cunningly incites his revenge against them. Right from the get-go, he opposes their harmful and demeaning traditions, but also gains their trust by showing his discipline and determination to honor his words, which is a samurai's bond. Subtly, when he refuses to change the robes before the ceremony, and directly when he challenges their principles when his demanded individuals fail to show up, as that's what he is after. To show them that their highly esteemed samurai's code is nothing more than a facade, and acknowledge that their treatment of the last ronin was less than ideal, who happens to be his son-in-law and him being his godfather, where his despair wasn't even considered in the slightest, as they only care about maintaining their prestige, while the victim was mocked till his petrifying death, as the ones with outside perspective called him mad, weak, and soulless, not being able to grasp his misery with their mindset that is plagued by dangerous levels of ego. Hence, he extracts the top knots of the responsible ones and dethrones them from their superficial arrogance as they go in hiding out of shame, while he kept his word by performing Harakiri only to be failed by them when he is sought by rifles. A single, tired, and old ronin risked everything to tell his story and caused monumental anguish to a clan who have been desperately covering up similar exploits behind those fortified walls and empty halls. He wasn't the first, and he wouldn't be the last. While the aforementioned titles are regarded superior, the subject matter of Samurai Rebellion alone makes it a contender for Kobayashi's most eternally beneficial stories. It isn't as visually captivating as Harakiri, or has the scale of the human condition. However, the core theme behind this film is not only relevant in various parts of our world, but it's close to home too. The film lays one of its prominent messages right in the beginning, family's integrity being prioritized over one's profession. As once again, we are introduced to samurais in an age of peace where their primary duty has been relegated to doing meager chores for their lords. He follows the order of his leader at work and abides to the words of his wife at home. In a way, he has been a loyal servant for both sides for a long time, being forcefully married to a person with extreme conservative and misogynistic personality who doesn't possess a single ounce of sympathy inside her. Even though he detests her, he can't abandon that relationship and has to keep it alive for the sake of his relatives. A situation he has to face again when his son is ordered to marry their lord's troublesome mistress, which might be packaged as a request, but in reality it is a command that can't be ignored or declined without facing trouble, and most importantly goes against the beliefs of a samurai. Although he doesn't want his son to follow that same path or repeat his mistakes, their marriage turns out to be the total opposite than the one he has, full of love and respect. The wife being a victim of the same honor system, forced to abide with the demands of their old lord and serve him in whatever ways that seems necessary, with no ways out of that predicament or even a chance of rejecting that offer. So she doesn't, and agrees to give in to his needs so others wouldn't have to suffer from it. The film continuously examines where these sort of decisions are forced down people's throat without any choices to say otherwise in sight. And on the other side, there are individuals who only care about outward appearance and appeasing the ones with power and wealth to gain their support, like his wife and younger son, along with their in-laws who take the side of their lord and his stubborn orders, who lacks basic understanding of human emotions and treats the newlyweds' relationship as something that can be played around with for the sake of his reputation, treating the woman as a doll that can be plucked at any given time, whose opinion or feelings isn't actually considered as they're too busy judging her character and have already decided what's better for her. And this begins the fight between three strong-willed individuals and an entire clan that is conspiring against them, as the former are willing to fight such senseless conventions and are fed up from all those favors they had to endure to keep their so-called family's name afloat. The injustice has to end, even if it means they have to go down with it, taking whatever necessary measures to see that they don't come on top. And as suspected, it ends in a bloodbath. They might be dead, but they aren't separated, concluding with an orphaned infant with a troubled upbringing up ahead, and a story that will remain under covers so the tyranny can continue.
もう江戸へ参ることはかなわぬ。富、お前の父と母の話はこのまま闇から闇へ。富、かくなる上は致し方ない。